Hi everybody, welcome to podcast number 1 of the skeletal system. In this podcast we're going to be talking about the major functions of your skeletal system, and we're going to start to take a look at how the entire bone system in your body is organized. So we'll start out by taking a look at the various functions. Your probably main function for your skeletal system and most important is protection of your vital organs. Your bones are very hard and they can protect a lot of those really delicate organs that are inside your body. Also support. Your skeleton is actually why you have the shape that you have. Imagine if you didn't have a skeleton, you'd be a big blob on the floor. And that big blob would not be able to move at all because your muscles are connected to your bones. And as your muscles contract, they move your bones, and that allows you to do movement, like walking and sitting and writing down all the important information you're writing down right now. A third function is blood cell formation. This is another really important function, and this is going to happen in the bone marrow of your bones. And you can make a lot of your red blood cells in there as well as various white blood cells. And finally, your bones are very hard because they can store many different inorganic molecules, such as calcium, which you get mostly from your milk, potassium, so eat your bananas, sodium chloride from salt. And these different things are going to be used in the body as to help enzymes function, allow your nervous system to work, allow your muscles to contract. All of those different things need these different inorganic molecules, and they are stored in your bones. So when you're ready, your body needs to use them, it's there to use them. Now, all of your bones are going to be organized into two main divisions. An adult has about 206 bones in their body, and that's different than an infant who has just been born actually has about 300. And we'll talk in a later podcast about how we go from having 300 bones in our body as an infant to only 206 as adults. These 206 bones are divided into two main sections. You have your axial skeleton and your appendicular. Your axial skeleton, you can kind of think about it like the axis of the Earth. It's that imaginary line going down the center of the Earth. Well, that's what you have when you're looking at your axial skeleton. It is the imaginary line going right down the middle. Your appendicular skeleton is all of the limbs or appendages that are attached to the axial part. So we'll take a look at each of these in turn. Start out with your axial skeleton. So you've got your head, neck, and trunk as part of your axial skeleton. Your axial's main job is for protection. All of these different parts are going to protect the different vital organs in your body. Okay. So, for example, your skull is going to protect your brain. Your vertebral column is going to protect your spinal cord right down the middle. And then you have your thoracic cage here, which is going to protect your heart and lungs. And these are all things that are absolutely vital organs. And if you damage them, you will not survive as a human being. You know, these are things that keeps you alive. And so your axial skeleton is really, really important for that. It also gives you your ability to have your upright standing stance. Now, attached to your axial skeleton is your appendicular skeleton. Your appendicular skeleton are your limbs, and then the bones that those limbs attach to. So your limbs basically are your arms and your legs. I'll make that into an E. Okay, so your pectoral girdle is your shoulders. You know, you work out your pecs, you're working out your shoulders. Those are going to connect your arms to your body, and then your pelvic girdle connects your legs to your body, and that's your hips. So you can see these two different versions here, and we'll take a closer look at them when we get to the names of the different bones. Now, all of these different bones come in different types. There are 5 types of bones found in the human body. You have long bones, which are like your femur and your humerus, longer than they are wide. Short bones are often found in your wrists. They can be kind of squarish in shape sometimes, kind of like this. Okay, they are smaller and they're usually in groups working together, so your wrist and your ankles. Flat bones are strong plates of bone, very flat, very, they cover a lot of area. So if you think of your scapula, which is your shoulder bone, that's an example of a flat bone. Irregular bones don't have a uniform shape. So an example of this is your vertebrae. Your vertebrae have a hole in the middle, and then they've got kind of this weird structure going around the outside, depending on how you look at it. But there's no uniform shape to them. And then your sesamoid. Your sesamoids are a special group of bones. They're usually short or irregular, but they are unique because they're not directly next to another bone. They're actually embedded completely in a tendon. And so your patella or your kneecap is an example of one of these. So let's take a look at some of these different kinds of bones. So here is a long bone over here. So this could be your femur. Okay, and you can obviously see it's much longer than it is wide. Okay, and there's a lot of bone marrow in your long bones. Your femur is actually a good store of bone marrow. This is a short bone. An example would be your tarsals. This could be one of your tarsal bones. Your tarsals you actually find in your wrists, or your tarsals you find in your ankles, into your all the different bones that make up your ankle and allow it to move. This here is your pelvic bone, and you can see it is not a uniform shape of any way. It's got parts flat, it's got some rounded parts, you got your tailbone here, it's all kind of unusual stuff. Here's your scapula, and that is a large flat bone. Okay, and then down here you'll see your patella. So here is all tendon on either side. And if you look at the other bones over here, your tibia and fibula, they articulate next to each other. They're right next to each other. Your femur goes right next to your tibia. They articulate. Whereas your patella is kind of floating off by itself. It's not directly next to another bone. And that's an example of a sesamoid. Okay, so what we're going to do in the next podcast is actually take a look at what the inside of these bones look like, what the kinds of cells that make them up, and the intricate way that they are put together.